Chapter 6, Subconscious Mind and Habits, Forming Positive Habits and Character. We are all born to lead successful lives, but our conditioning leads us to failure. We are born to win, but are conditioned to lose. We often hear statements like, "This person is just lucky." He touches dirt and it turns to gold, or he is unlucky. No matter what he touches, it turns to dirt. This is not true. If you analyze, the successful person is doing something right in each transaction, and the failure is repeating the same mistake in each transaction. Remember, practice does not make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent whatever you do repeatedly. Some people keep practicing their mistakes and they become perfect in them. So their mistakes become perfect and automatic. Professionals make things look easy because they have mastered the fundamentals of whatever they do. Many people do good work with promotions in mind, but the one to whom good work becomes a habit is deserving. Cultivating a habit is like plowing the field. It takes time. It has to grow from within. Habits generate other habits. Inspiration is what gets a person started. Motivation is what keeps him on track, and habit is what makes it automatic. The ability to show courage is in the face of adversity, show self restraint in the face of temptation, choose happiness in the face of hurt, show character in the face of despair, see opportunity in the face of obstacles. These traits are not coincidences, they are the result of constant and consistent training, both mental and physical. In the face of adversity, our behavior can only be the one we have practiced, regardless of whether it is positive or negative. When we practice negative traits such as cowardice or dishonesty in small events, hoping to handle the major ones in a positive way, the latter wouldn't happen because that is not what we have practiced. When we permit ourselves to tell a lie once, it is a lot easier to do it a second and a third time until it becomes a habit. Success lies in the philosophy of sustain and abstain. Sustain what needs to be done and abstain from what is detrimental until this becomes habitual. Human beings are more emotional than rational. Honesty and integrity are both the result of our belief system and practice. Anything we practice long enough becomes ingrained into our system and becomes a habit. Person who is honest most of the time gets caught the first time he tells a lie, whereas a person who is dishonest most of the time gets caught the first time he tells the truth. Honesty and dishonesty to self and others both become habits. Our thinking pattern becomes habitual. We form habits and habits form character. Before you realize that you have got the habit has got you. We need to form the habit of thinking right. Someone once said, "Our thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to habits, and habits form character. Character leads to destiny." Form good habits. Most of our behavior is habitual, it comes automatically without thinking. Character is the sum total of our habits. If a person has positive habits, then he is considered a positive character. A person with negative habits is a negative character. Habits are a lot stronger than logic and reasoning. Habits start by being too weak to be felt and end up becoming too strong to get out of. Habits can be developed by default or determination. I remember as a child my parents telling me, "You should form good habits because habits form character." How do we form habits? Anything we do repeatedly becomes a habit. We learn by doing. By behaving courageously, we learn courage. By practicing honesty and firmness, we learn these traits. By practicing these traits, we master them. Similarly, if we practice negative traits such as dishonesty, Unjust behavior or lack of discipline, that is what we become good at. Attitudes are habits, they are behavior patterns. They become a state of mind and dictate our responses. Conditioning. Most of our behavior comes as a result of conditioning. It is habitual. If we want to do anything well, it must become automatic. If we have the consciously if we have to consciously think about doing the right thing, we will never be able to do it well. That means we must make it a habit. We are all being conditioned continuously by the environment and the media, and we start behaving like robots. It is our responsibility to condition ourselves in a positive manner. When I was a student of martial arts, I observed that even the black belts were practicing block or punch. The basics, because if they needed to use these skills, they had to come automatically. Good habits are hard to come but easy to live with. Bad habits come easy but are hard to live with. How do we get conditioned? Think of the mighty elephant who can lift in excess of a ton of weight with just its trunk. How do they condition the elephant to stay in one place with a weak rope and a stick? The elephant, when it is a baby, is tied to a strong chain and a strong tree. The baby is weak, but the chain and tree are strong. The baby is not used to being tied. So it keeps tugging and pulling the chain, all in vain. A day comes when it realizes that all the tugging and pulling will not help. It stops and stands still. Now it is conditioned. And when the baby elephant becomes the mighty giant elephant, he is tied with a weak rope and a small stake. The elephant could, with one tug, walk away free, but it goes nowhere because it has been conditioned. And when the baby elephant becomes the mighty giant elephant, he is tied with a weak rope and a small stake. The elephant could with one tug walk away free, but it goes nowhere because it has been conditioned. Human beings are constantly being conditioned, consciously or unconsciously, by exposure to the kind of books we read, the kind of movies and TV programs we watch, the kind of music we listen to, the kind of company we keep. While driving to work, if we listen to the same music every day for several days, and if the tape deck breaks down, guess what tune we will be humming? Insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If you keep doing what you have been doing, you will keep getting what you have gotten. The most difficult thing about changing a habit is unlearning what is not working and learning positive habits. The GIGO principle. The computer phrase GIGO, garbage in, garbage out, is very sound. Negativity in, negativity out. Positivity in, positivity out. Good in, good out. Our input equals our output. Our subconscious mind does not discriminate. Whatever we choose to put into our subconscious mind, it will accept, and our behavior will reflect that accordingly. The television has a considerable impact on influencing our morals, thinking, and culture, for good or bad. TV, while bringing in lots of useful information, has also made an outstanding contribution to regarding our tastes, corrupting our morals, and increasing juvenile delinquency. That is a pretty high price for so called free speech or free television. The number of violent ads seen on TV by the age of 18 tops 200,000. Source as in Selling Power, National Times, March 1996, page number 40. Advertisers are good at conditioning their audience. Obviously, advertisements sell products, otherwise, why would companies advertise? When we watch TV or listen to a radio advertisement, our conscious mind is not listening, but our subconscious is open and we receive whatever is being dumped in. Have you ever argued with the TV? Of course not. When we go to the movie, we laugh and we cry. It is because they put something in the seats or because the emotional input has an immediate emotional output. Change the input and the output changes. The conscious and subconscious mind. Remember, our conscious mind has the ability to think. It can accept or reject, but the subconscious only accepts. It makes no distinction regarding input. If we feed our mind with thoughts of fear, doubt, or and hate, the autosuggestions will activate and translate those things into reality. The subconscious it is the data bank. Of the two, the subconscious is more powerful. The subconscious is like the automobile, while the conscious is like the driver. The power is in the automobile, but the control is with the driver. The subconscious mind can work for or against us. It is not rational. When we are not successful, we need to reprogram the subconscious. The subconscious mind is like a garden. It doesn't care what you plant. It is neutral. It has no preferences. But if you plant good seeds, you will have a good garden. Otherwise, you will have a wild growth of weeds. I would go a step further to say even when you plant good seeds, weeds still grow and the weeding process must continue constantly. The human mind is no different. Remember, positive and negative thoughts can't occupy the mind simultaneously. Companies spend close to $1 million for a 30-second ad during a major event. Obviously, they are getting results. We see an ad for a particular brand of soft drink or toothpaste and we go to the supermarket and buy that brand. We don't want any soft drink but only that brand. Why? Because we are programmed and act accordingly. In order to succeed, we need to get programmed in a positive way. How do we get programmed? Think how we learned to ride a bike. These are four stages. The first stage is called unconscious incompetence. This is a stage where we don't know that we don't know. The child doesn't know what it is to ride a bike unconscious, nor can he ride a bike incompetence. This is the stage of unconscious incompetence. The second stage is called consciously incompetent. This is the stage where the child grows and becomes conscious of what it is to ride a bike but cannot ride one himself. So he is consciously incompetent. But when he starts learning, and now comes a third stage which is called consciously competent. Now he can ride a bike but has to think every time to do it. So, with all the conscious thought and effort, the child is competent to ride a bike. The fourth stage is called unconsciously competent. It comes when the child has practiced consciously riding the bike so much that he doesn't have to think. It becomes an automatic process. He can't talk to people and wave to others while riding. That means he has reached the stage of unconscious competence. At this level, we don't need the concentration and thinking because the behavior pattern has become automatic. This is the level that we want all our positive habits to reach. Unfortunately, we have some negative habits too, which are at the unconscious competence stage and are detrimental to our progress. Studies have shown that approximately 90% of all smokers became smokers by the age of 21. If a person has not become a smoker by the age of 21, then there is a very small chance that person will ever become a smoker. This only proves that smoking is conditioned subconsciously and our conditioning starts at a young age. Nature abhors a vacuum. I have two nephews aged 12 and 14 who are tennis buffs. One day, their father said to me, "This game is getting very expensive. The boys go through the rackets, balls, lawn fees, and now they have a coach. It all costs money." So I asked him, "It is getting expensive compared with what?" He could have them stop playing tennis and save some money. But if they stopped and came home from school with all their time and energy at hand, what would they do? He stopped to think quietly for some time and then said, "I think I will have them continue. It is cheaper it is cheaper this way." He realized the importance of keeping them involved in positive activities. Otherwise, they would be attracted to the negative because nature abhors a vacuum. Either we have a positive or we have a negative. There is no neutral ground here. Character building becomes a habit. If we want to build a pleasing personality, we have to examine our habits closely. What begins as an occasional indulgence turns into a permanent flaw. Ask yourself the following questions. 1. Do you let the quality of your work deteriorate? 2. Do you indulge in gossip? 3. Are envy and ego a constant companion? 4. Is empathy in short supply? We could go on and on. We are creatures of habit. It is good that it is that way, because if we have to constantly think before doing anything, we would never get anything done. There is just not enough time. We control our habits by exercising control and self discipline over our thoughts. We need to harness the power of the subconscious mind. We need to cultivate the habits during childhood which would build character in adulthood. Plant the right things early in life, but it is never too late to start. Every exposure to a positive or negative makes a difference. Learning new habits takes time, but positive habits, once mastered, give new meaning to life. Optimism or pessimism is a habit. Habits are a matter of the pain and pleasure principle. We do things either to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. So long as the gain is more than the pain, we continue with the habit. But if the pain exceeds the gain, we drop it. For example, when the doctor tells the smoker to stop, he replies, "I can't. It is a habit and I enjoy it." And he goes on smoking. Here, the pleasure is greater than the pain, until one day he is faced with a major medical problem and the doctor says, "You better stop smoking immediately if you want to live." And he stops. Here, the pain is greater than the pleasure. Resistance to change. When people recognize or become aware of their negative habits, why don't they change? The reason they don't change is because they refuse to accept responsibilities. Besides, the pleasure of continuing is greater than the pain they may lack the desire to change, lack the discipline to change, lack the belief that they can change, lack the awareness for the need to change. All these factors prevent us from getting rid of our negative habits. We all have a choice. We can ignore negative behavior and hope it will go away. The ostrich approach, or face up to it and become and overcome it for life. Behavior modification comes from overcoming irrational fears and getting out of the comfort zone. Remember, fear is learned behavior and can be unlearned. The following excuses are the most common explanations for not changing negative habits. 1. We have always done in that way. 2. We have never done in that way. 3. That is not my job. 4. I don't think it will make any difference. 5. I'm too busy. Forming positive habits. It is never too late to change, regardless of our age or how old the habit has been. This can be done by awareness and using techniques that modify behavior. We hear all the time that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We are human beings, not dogs. Neither are we performing tricks. We can unlearn self destructive behavior and learn positive behavior. The secret of successful people is that they form the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do and won't do. Just think about the things that failures don't like to do. They are the same things that successful people don't like to do, but they do them anyway. For example, failures don't like discipline, hard work, or keeping commitments. Successful people also dislike discipline, hard work. An athlete doesn't like and want the discipline to get up and train every day, but he does it regardless. But they do it in any way because they have formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. All habits start small but end up eventually being very difficult to break. Attitudes are habits and can be changed. It is a question of breaking and replacing old negative habits with new and positive ones. It is easier to prevent bad habits than to overcome them. Good habits come from overcoming temptation. Happiness and unhappiness are a habit. Excellence is the result of repeated conscious effort until it becomes a habit. It needs enough practice to become a habit. We all have some negative habits that are pulling us down. Take 15 minutes alone and undisturbed to make a list of all the negative habits that are pulling you down. After 15 minutes, take 15 minutes alone and undisturbed to make a list of all positive habits you want to develop. 21-day formula to form positive habits. Auto suggestion. What is auto suggestion? An auto suggestion is a statement made in the present tense of the kind of person you want to be. Auto suggestions are like writing a commercial to yourself about yourself for yourself. They influence both your conscious and subconscious mind, which in turn influence attitude and behavior. Autosuggestions are a way to program your subconscious mind. They can be either positive or negative. Examples of negative autosuggestions are: I'm tired, I'm not an athlete, I have a poor memory, I'm not good at math. When we repeat to ourselves a negative autosuggestion, our subconscious mind believes it and it becomes a self fulfilling prophecy and starts reflecting in our behavior. For example, when I am taking to someone and I forget that what I had to say, I tell the other person, see, I forgot what I wanted to say. I have such a poor memory. People who come into contact with crime the first time hate it. With constant exposure, they get used to it, and if the exposure is long enough, they may embrace it and they become creators of their own misfortune. When a person repeats a belief long enough, it sinks into the subconscious and becomes reality. A lie, repeated long enough, becomes accepted as the truth. Positive autosuggestions are being widely used in the field of sports and medicine. Why make positive statements? Because we want to create a picture in our minds of what we want to have rather than what we don't. Any picture that we hold in our mind becomes reality. Autosuggestions are a process of repetition. A person who repeats a statement long enough lets it sink into the subconscious mind. For example, I'm relaxed, I'm cool, calm, and collected. Autosuggestions should not be practiced in a negative way. I'm not tense, I won't be angry. Positive statements are made because we think in pictures and not in words. If I say, don't think of the blue elephant, what is the first picture that comes to your mind? The blue elephant. If I say mother, what comes to your mind? A picture of your mother? Did you start spelling Mother? Of course not. When a negative word comes in the autosuggestion, it forms a negative picture which we want to avoid. Why in the present tense? Because our mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and an imagined one. For example, parents are expecting their child to come home at 9:30 pm, but the kid is not home and it is now 1 am. What is going through the parents' mind? They are probably hoping everything's okay. I hope the kid didn't get into an accident. What is happening to their blood pressure? It is going up. This is an imagined experience. The reality could be that the kid is having fun at a party, is irresponsible, and did not get home when he was supposed to. Now reverse the scenario. Supposing the kid was very responsible and was actually coming home at 9:30 pm but got into an accident and still didn't get home at 1 am. What is happening to the parents' blood pressure? It is still going up. The first scenario was an imagined experience. The second one was a real experience, but the body's response in both cases was identical. Our mind cannot tell the difference between a real and an imagined experience. Prepare the subconscious. How can we use autosuggestions to eliminate negative habits and develop positive ones? We have all used autosuggestions unconsciously. For example, when you have to catch an early morning flight, you automatically tell yourself that you have got to get up. And invariably you do, sometimes even without an alarm clock. A prepared subconscious mind has hunches and gut feelings. Autosuggestion is a way to program and condition our mind to make a statement into a self fulfilling prophecy. Autosuggestion is a repetitive process through which we feed our subconscious with positive statements which translate into reality. Repetition alone is not enough unless it is accompanied by emotions and feelings. Autosuggestions without visualization will not produce results. The first time our mind receives an autosuggestion, it rejects it. Why? It is an alien thought, contrary to our belief system. Success would depend on our ability to concentrate and repeat the process. Steps to follow on autosuggestions. 1. Go to a spot where you won't be disturbed. 2. Write down your suggestions. The self discipline to finish what one starts is imperative. Autosuggestion is a powerful character building tool. Translating autosuggestion into reality. 1. Make a list of your autosuggestions in the present tense. 2. Repeat autosuggestions at least twice a day, first thing in the morning and at the end of the day. This is because in the morning the mind is fresh and receptive, and at night you deposit the positive picture into your subconscious overnight. 3. Repeat it consecutively for 21 days until it becomes a habit. 4. Autosuggestions alone will not work, they need visualization. Visualization. Visualization is the process of creating and seeing a mental picture of the kind of thing you want to have or do, or the kind of person you want to be. Visualization goes hand in hand with autosuggestion. Autosuggestion without visualization is mechanical, repetition, and will be ineffective. In order to see results, autosuggestion must be accompanied by feelings and emotions. Visualization. Caution. Autosuggestion may not be acceptable to the mind the first time you do it because it is an alien thought. For example, for the past few decades I have believed that I have a poor memory. And now all of a sudden I tell myself I have a good memory. My mind will throw it out, saying, "You liar, you have a bad memory." Because that is what it has believed up to this point. It will take 21 days to dispel this notion. Why 21 days? Because it takes a minimum of 21 days of conscious consecutive practice to formulate a habit. The big question is 21 days of conscious effort a heavy price to pay to change a lifetime for the better? It all sounds simple, but it is not easy. I'm not surprised to see how few people go through this routine. Action plan 1. Make a list of your auto suggestions. 2. Repeat the 21-day program with visualization. Thank you.